a lot of them.
This target's a tricky one.
Here's a sample. Take her!
Hello everyone, I'm River Fox and welcome to the channel. Now today we're going to be carrying on with our Mythic Storm King weapon set reviews, and today we have the astonishing Storm King's Wrath, which is by far the best explosive weapon in the game. Now before we do get into damage numbers, then I just want to go through my setup and what I have been doing with this weapon. Now for the actual Storm King's Wrath, it does say charging this weapon causes the laser to split and chain to multiple targets on hitting. Longer charge times increase the number of splits up to a max of 3. Charged shots generate more heat and consume more ammo. So for the setup of this one, I have gone with a double crit damage, a crit rating. I've left the element as physical for the time being, and we have gone with 30% damage. Now there are a few different options that you can set for these, but for me this is the best that I have found with my testing. Now for damage numbers, I can do over 352,000 DPS. The headshot damage isn't that much different actually than the standard damage, but for crit chance we have 38%, we have 320% critical damage. The fire rate is 1, which isn't too bad, and the range is 3072. Now it does have quite a low durability in my opinion. I have gone through far too many of these in the testing, so that is one thing that it doesn't really have too well, is the durability. Now I know mine is a bright core, but I will be trying to get a second one to set it up as obsidian, so we can try it out with that as well. The heat capacity is 100, heat generation is 40, cooling speed is 40, and the overheat cooldown is 2.5 seconds. So it does take a little bit of time to reset after the cooldown, and actually when it does the cooldown is when it will do reloading as well. So there are two ways then that you can use this weapon. You can fire the single shot, which if you fire a single shot and give it a second or two in between each shot, then you literally can just keep firing. You don't need to actually reload. If you hold down the fire button before you actually release and take that shot, it will then do the additional damage to surrounding husks, but it will actually instantly overheat the weapon. So it's not something that you want to be doing all of the time, is to do that additional fire shot. You do want to try and aim for your single shots wherever possible, as well as the fact that you will use a lot more ammo in doing your additional shot. And believe me, this weapon will eat through your ammo like butter. It uses so much ammo. That is the only downside, I think, to this weapon, is just the sheer amount of ammo that you can go through, and because of the durability it does run out quite quickly. So you're not going to be using this weapon for every single mission that you go into. You are going to need to try and keep this for sort of your much needed situations. If you do need to clear big groups of husks, then I would probably advise sticking with the deatomizer, which will consume less ammo and do more damage to groups. So if you want to do damage that way, then stick with the deatomizer. If you want to do single target damage, then by far the Storm King's Wrath is the best. Now for hero loadouts, now there are a few different loadouts that you can use for this weapon. I did try the Rex Jonesy loadout, I also tried the Battle Beat loadout, and I tried the team perk of Preemptive Strike. Now with that team perk and team setup, you will get more standard damage shots, so you'll be able to get in the range probably of about 1.2 million per shot on majority of your shots, but you won't get very many of your crit shots. So the preemptive strike, in my opinion, would be more suited if you went for a normal damage setup on your RAF. But for my testing, I did go with the Totally Rocking Out team perk and Demolition Penny. Because of course Demolition Penny will give you 50% launcher increased damage. So for the support team, I have gone with Sarayan Might, Subwafers, Battle Beat, Locked and Reloaded, and Unearthly Treats. Now for this one, this is more aimed at your crit rating and your crit damage. So because we have the subwafers, it is always a good idea to carry those subwafers with you, and if you do need to clear anything like your blasters or your smashers or takers, then if you use your subwafers before you take your shot, you will do much higher damage in that shot. Now you may have seen as well at the very start of this video where I did some blaster shots. Now in those clips you may have seen me using the ear splitter. Now the ear splitter gives you the Totally Rocking Out ability. So if you use your ear splitter and then use your subwafers and then take your shot, then you are more likely to get even higher a crit chance on that shot, which is why in some circumstances I did get shots well over the 2.2 million damage, but it's not going to be every single shot. Now with this Totally Rocking Out loadout, I did get probably on average, I would say around about the 700,000-800,000 damage mark. You can get some pretty decent crits in there around about the 1.7 million damage, but the average is around about the 700,000, which when you think about it for a single shot, that is some absolutely insane amount of damage. Because the headshot damage isn't very much different than the normal standard damage, so there's not a huge point in aiming specifically at the heads. If you were going to get increased headshot damage from that, then yes, I would suggest aiming specifically at their heads. But because you get very little difference in the actual headshot damage, then just aim anywhere on those husks and it will do pretty much the same amount of damage. So at least for people like myself with not the greatest of aim, then that is definitely a bonus for us. One thing that I have noticed with the Mythic set in all of the Mythic weapons is weapon wraps do not appear on the Mythic set. So if you do have any weapon wraps set in your locker, then they will not actually show up on these weapons, which I think is actually a pretty good thing, because they do look absolutely awesome, these weapons, and whoever came up with these designs for all of this weapon set, they are phenomenal. I do love the look of them, and they have rapidly become my favorite weapons within this game. And I got to try really not to use them so much, because literally I'm using these weapons now all of the time because I'm just enjoying them so much. But as I said earlier, it will eat through your ammo, and all of these will use the ammo cells, which do require a lot of batteries in order to go through. So probably in all of my testing in all of these different weapon sets, I've easily gone through 10,000 blooming batteries in all the ammo that I've produced. So they will use a lot. That is what happens when you get such an awesome weapon. They do have to have something that is going to limit the amount that you will use them. Now with propane, guys, it will actually set off the propane. So unlike some weapons, this will actually set off the propane tank. But if you just aim at them instead of at the propane, then you are more likely going to kill them before they even get a chance to actually blow up their propane tanks. And as for fridge guys, well, if you use your single fire shot, it will not pierce through the actual fridge doors. But if you use the added long fire shot, it will blast straight through the fridge doors, which is an added bonus. Takers are not really much of a trouble. You can normally 1-2 shot them at absolute most, and they will be well out of the way. So yeah, overall, for pretty much all kinds of husks, smashers, blasters, everything, this weapon is pretty good for them all. Now, I did do all of my testing in 140 missions, so I didn't even bother attempting to go into any lower ones testing in there, because with a 140 smasher 2 shots, it's quite obvious that any lower level husks are just going to get obliterated with this weapon. So yes, it is by far my absolute favorite at the moment. Now, I do still have a few other ones left to test. I've got the AR, I've got the pistol, and I've got the sword left to test out. So who knows, one of those may actually overtake this weapon for my favorite. But for the time being, this weapon is my absolute favorite, and it gets an absolute 20 out of 10 from me, because you cannot fault this weapon at all. It is absolutely insane. But I hope you do find this review useful. If you do, don't forget to drop a like down below, smash that subscribe before you go, and if you turn on the notification bell, then you will always get updated of all my content when it comes out. Now, if you do buy anything in the Fortnite store, then please consider using code RiverFox, as it will help me out a great deal in upgrading my equipment. So thank you to anyone who already does. But until the next time, I hope you have a lovely day and stay safe, my friends.